You might want to mute yours.
Okay. Well, I'm sure more will be showing up in a few minutes, but we'll get going. So, good evening, everybody. Welcome to tonight's presentation. My name is Tim, and I'm the co-founder and director of soccer for Capital Soccer Club. And I'm joined here by my co-host, John Del Piccoli, who is our director of player development and community engagement. Our guest tonight is Kristine Lilly, one of the world's most successful and inspirational athletes. She is the picture of athletic excellence, class, levity, and determination. Her resume includes highlights such as playing in 5 World Cups, winning 2 of them. At the University of North Carolina, she played in 4 national championship matches and won. She was also named All-American all 4 years. She played in 3 Olympic Games, and in all 3 of those games. And in a U.S. women's national team career that occurred over 4 different decades, she broke records, including being both the youngest and the oldest player to score for the national team. She is second both in the U.S. and in the world in goals scored, and has earned a staggering 354 caps for the national team, which is more than any player, male or female. Additionally, Kristine is a coach, mother, an author, a business owner, a marathoner, a mountain climber, and rumor has it, a burgeoning movie star. And, you know, Kristine, we're so lucky to have her, and she has graciously made 2 really incredible offers to Capital Soccer Club that you should all know about. First of all, she has waived her speaking fee, which is, you know, we're just truly grateful for. And secondly, while her book, Powerhouse, is available on Amazon.com. Kristine has made a special offer for the attendees of this presentation. Not only can you get an autographed copy of Powerhouse for $25, but you do so by reaching out to her. So I think just as valuable as reading her book is getting a chance to email Kristine Lilly directly. So so we will post that information for you so that you can send in your orders, and that price does include shipping. So I know you're all very, very excited to read Powerhouse, which is a book about helping organizations and teams be more successful through stories from the U.S. women's national team. So obviously a fantastic read and something we're all looking forward to. So at this moment, I would like to take a quick second, and John is going to unmute the entire room for a handful of seconds only, just so we can all give Kristine a big capital welcome. So if you would, how about a big round of applause for Kristine?
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Well, Peter, thank you for to say I'm not sure I'm still a marathoner, but I have run 1, so I'll chalk that up. I did hike Kilimanjaro, but I didn't make it to the top, so but I did try. I got altitude sickness about 45 minutes short of the top, so a couple of things in there, but yeah, no, it's great. It's great to be here. Great to talk to you guys. I know we're all in a different state right now, and no one has been through this before, and I think we're all pretty much quarantined at home, not being able to see our friends or family or the soccer ball on a soccer field. And I think we're missing some things. So my one thing for everybody is we're all going through it. We're all feeling the same things, but just keep hanging in there. And the one thing I'm sharing with young people too is take control of your body and yourself, and do what you can to make yourself stronger, which is eating right, sleeping, hydrating, getting outside, getting fresh air. And then obviously on the soccer front, you know, getting out there and getting touches on the ball the best you can. But really in this time, I'm hoping. I have 2 girls. I'm just like, they're getting their schoolwork done. We're getting outside as much as we can, trying to have fun and try to pass these days on, and looking forward to connecting with our friends and family and the soccer field again. So I'm happy to join you guys tonight, and it's great to see my cousin and his family. So that's a bonus for me too. So thanks for letting me be a part of your Zoom today.
You welcome. It's great to have you. So a quick note for the audience, because the audience is the most important group here, and I know they're chomping at the bit to speak with you. We are going to finish the day with questions directly from the audience to Kristine, and the way that's going to work is that those of you in the audience should look in your chat function of Zoom and find John Della Pascoli, man, myth, legend. And I would like you to send him your question, but included with that question, include your name, because your Zoom name might not reflect who you actually are if you're using a family one. Your name, where you're from, and what team you play for, if you're playing for the U14 girls or the U18 boys or anything like that. So send those along. John will pick those questions out at the end, ask you to unmute yourself so that you can look Kristine face to face and ask your question. So I'm going to start off with a couple of questions for you, Kristine, if that's okay.
That sounds great.
First of all, maybe just quickly tell us a little bit about, you wrote your book, and rumor has it out there that you might there might also be a movie in the making. And,
all these fun things. Well, it's just a little over a year ago. My book came out last May, and it's a book I co-authored with Dr. John Gillis and Dr. Lynette Gillis, 2 friends that I met in Texas when I lived in Austin. And they're in the business world and education world. And we used to talk about, sports and the national team. And he knew about the national team, but just starting to hear more stories of me sharing, why my teammates were so great and why I think we were so successful. And he's like, gosh, all this information, you guys, this could help so many people, not just the sports world. And I was like, oh, yeah. So we continued to talk a little bit more, and I was like, oh, this is great. And it gives me an opportunity. I do a lot of speaking engagements, and this gives me even a bigger topic to touch on. And so we wrote the book, and it's basically 13 tactics, obviously 13 going off my number, and that helped our team be successful. And it's not new things that you guys wouldn't be familiar with. There's leadership, communication, goals, conflict, but the 13 chapters calling doing what's right. And that really kind of summarizes what my team was all about. We may have been fighting for things on the field, off the field, but we always did it in a manner that was ethical and had integrity and was right. So it was fun to do, not as much as fun as playing soccer, but it was fun, and it's great to have now as a tool to share with people and try to help teams, organizations, maybe be a little bit more organized, a little bit more successful in what they're trying to do to come together and work together as a team. So it's been kind of a neat thing for me.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And are the rumors true then that there's that you're going to be on the silver screen as well?
Well, I'm not personally going to be on the silver screen, but Netflix has took on a project to do a movie about the 1999 World Cup team. So basically, it's based on the story "Girls of Summer" that was written by Jerry Longman after we won in 1999, and the movie will be based on his book. So I won't be in it, which is probably a good thing because you don't want to see me acting. But someone will be playing the parts of. There's 8 of us that they have the rights to, but it will be on the full '99 team, and that includes Mia, Brandy, Michelle, Joy, Carla, and Brianna, and there'll be a movie on it. And it's just getting started, so I'm not really sure when it will be out, but it will be on Netflix.
That's awesome.
So that'll be exciting. Yeah, really cool.
We're all looking forward to seeing that. So leading into a couple of questions just to kind of, maximize our time with you here. I was thinking in terms of highs and lows. And I personally, am old enough to remember sort of some of those really exhilarating moments in your earlier career, and of course the goal line save in the World Cup final and all those things. But some of our audience, is not old enough to have witnessed your entire career. And so I'm wondering if you can pick out maybe one or two absolute highs that just stick in your memory.
Yeah. Well, sure. Just a summary. I mean, I grew up in Connecticut, so the Northeast, so familiar with you guys. I mean, where I'm like you guys when I was a kid, playing all different sports, and then soccer was the one I kind of accelerated in and kind of felt I was doing well in, and made the national team at 16. And I think for me at 16 on the national team was, I was kind of like, okay, I don't really understand what I'm a part of, but here I am. The national team at the time was just 2 years old, so the women's side wasn't hadn't grown since 1985 was the first year, so 2 years. So I was a part of the growth of the women's side, and I think for me, if I was to two highlights, I mean the '96 Olympics, being the first time women's soccer is in the Olympics was in '96. That was a highlight because for me as a kid, that was the one thing I dreamed about. It wasn't a World Cup because there was no Women's World Cup. And I wasn't watching a lot of men's soccer because it wasn't on TV when I was growing up then either. So the Olympics is something I always saw. Every 4 years, you saw it summer and winter, and I was like, oh my gosh, I want to do that one day. So when I got to be on the team, and then the Olympics added soccer in 1996, and I made the team, that was a huge highlight. And obviously to win a gold medal in that first time was something that it's hard to explain, but I think all you young people listening, you guys have the dreams, and just think that one day your dream comes true. And that was really a special time for me. And then I would say the '99 World Cup. And the reason I picked that, not only because we won the World Cup, but we also changed views on women's sports. And, they talked about the beginning to be in small stadiums and kind of like just, okay, we'll just put in small stadiums and kind of just go with it, see what happens. But we decided to go in the big football stadiums, and we ended up selling out every game we played in. And obviously the final had 90,000 and 40 million watching on TV. So it wasn't only just winning that World Cup, it was also changing people's lives. And I think the impact, we felt as the players was months and years after that of what we did, not only just winning that game. So those two were pretty memorable and pretty big highs for me.
Of course, in the legacy of those moments are carrying on for athletes, male and female, to this day. And I think that sometimes when we look at a star like that, someone who's just had such an incredible career, and it might be easy for us to think that you were just naturally gifted and able to just cruise through, and you were just the best all the time. And I'm certain from the stories I've heard that there have been struggles on and off the field. So I'm wondering, on the opposite side of that high-low question, like, are there particular challenges that you've gone through and had to overcome that the audience might like to know about?
Yeah, well, I think in the time I grew up in the '70s, late '70s, early '80s, I was born in '71, so in '81 I'm a 10-year-old kid, and I'm a girl too. And one of the greatest things and one of the craziest things, the greatest things that I didn't realize that girls weren't playing sports. I grew up with an older brother, cousins that were all boys, Jim, who you guys all know, and whenever there was something going on, any sport, we all played. It wasn't like, oh, you can't play because you're a girl. So my first struggles weren't necessarily known to me until I started to move up in age and hit different levels of soccer. So I have to say that first realizing that I was known as the tomboy, which I didn't think was a negative thing at the time, but obviously there were some people who thought so, and just fighting my way of wanting to play even though I was a girl. I played with boys on the baseball team. I played with boys on the soccer field. And to me, I didn't care. I was enjoying it. I got to play the sport, so it didn't matter. and the guys were always pretty good to me. So I didn't really have any negative moments. And then now, I mean, if you're looking at the lawsuit that the women are still filing against U.S. Soccer, it's crazy to think we're still fighting for things. And this was back in the 70s and 80s, you know, it's just to give women and girls opportunities. So that was one of the struggles early on. And, but I had great examples and people around me that believed in me and supported me. So that was awesome. And then for me, early on, one of the biggest things for me as a young player was being homesick. And a lot of times these days, these kids, all these kids are going off traveling at such young ages. But when I was 16 and I went away from home for the first time to China, I was homesick. And it wasn't just that one trip, it was many. And the one thing that helped me was soccer. And obviously I was on these trips because of it. But once I got on the field, I was just the happiest place I could be. So sometimes these struggles that we have in life, there are silver linings and there are things that can lift you up and make you feel better. And soccer was the one thing that did. And that goes along with my teammates. It wasn't just the game, it was the people I was surrounding myself with.
That's fantastic. Thank you. I know that you are considered, you know, such a trailblazer in so many ways. And I think a lot of our young players here are anxious to carry on with the work that you've done. So, you know, kind of playing off that a little bit, you know, you talk about these tremendous challenges that you've pushed your way through. And, you know, we all as a society are in the midst of an unprecedented challenge right now. And I'm wondering if you might, I don't know, off the cuff, give our players a little advice on getting through this shelter in place. You know, can you relate any skills that you honed through all of the challenges that you've been through, you know, to give some advice on how we can all make our way through the rest of it?
Well, I think this is an interesting time. I mean, for all of us, not just kids, but I think the kids feel more sometimes just because they're so used to seeing friends and being around people and all that. But I think the one thing I'm sharing with a lot of people I'm talking with is just to take control of yourself. In these times, you don't have people telling you what to do besides your parents, which they should always, until you know you deserve better. But we just take control of your life. So yeah, you can't be on the field with your friends, but what can you do? You can go get a ball. You could go juggle in the backyard. You could dribble around cones. You could try to keep the ball away from your dog. My dog, when I used to play when I was younger, was my best defender. And we have a dog now, and still the case, the best defenders out there. But take control. And that's not even just the soccer field, just eat right. Like I talked about, eat right, rest, sleep, and all the things that you can control. This is the opportunity for you to do it. Don't wait for someone to solve the problem for you. You know, take control of it now. And I think that's one of the hardest things maybe for this young generation is they're always being told, okay, you're at practice, now go warm up. Everyone's telling them what to do, when to do it, how many practices a day you have. So this is an opportunity for the player to be creative on their own. Find ways that you can, you know, help your game. I mean, I used to, when I was at the national team at a young age, we didn't have the ability to be able to see each other like the team does now. The finances weren't there. So we train a lot on our own. And the one thing I would do, I would get a ball, I'd find a wall, and I would just kick the ball against the wall. 100 times with the right foot, 100 with the left, the inside, the outside, the laces. And then I'd practice hitting the ball against the wall, turning. So there's so many things that you can do, but you got to find it within you and want to do that. You have to have the passion to go out there and just do it. You know, no one's forcing you to go to practice today. So you got to go out and do it. But then the main thing for this is just the kids to find fun. Find fun, get outside. I mean, your siblings, I mean, if you could bike ride with friends with whatever social distances they're biking, it seems to be one of the things that I see a lot of kids doing because they can't get too close. And just take control of you, you know, of your health and your wellness along with your families. And I think that's the thing we could really all focus on a little bit more.
It's great advice. Take control of you. It's I don't know whether this is completely a different question or not, and I don't mean to be redundant here, but you know, at some point we move along to whatever normal is gonna be. and kids are going to want to reach that next level, whatever that next level for them is. And you have surpassed so many different levels along the way in your various careers even. And I'm just wondering what elements of your personality and of your character allowed you to reach that next level each time.
Well, I think, you have to have passion and love for whatever you're doing. If soccer is in it, then you're going to want to in your out on any field, or maybe it's the piano and you sit down to do it, just make sure you put your whole heart into it and work your tail off, and that'll help you get to the next level.
That's great. Amazing advice from Kristine Lilly. So, of all of your successes, I'm quite certain that you would probably say that your greatest achievement is raising your two amazing kids.
So very much.
Now you're mom to Sydney
Right.
and Jordan, I believe, and I'm wondering, are there things you see as a mom that you wished you knew?
I think back. Thank you, Mom, because I realized as kids you don't realize what your parents do for you, and I'm so grateful for my parents and what they've done for me, and I think the one thing I try to balance with raising my kids is telling them too much or trying to teach them too much, because a lot of times just life's going to teach them. Obviously you want to be safe in everything that they do, but life's going to teach them lessons, and not being the one that goes, well, if you do that, this is going to happen, because they're like, okay, yeah. They're not going to be like, whatever. They're going to still experience it for them. So trying to find that balance, and I think really having fun with my kids. And I coach my oldest right now, and I think that's been a challenge of balancing how much I'm teaching, not only her, but the players, and having the fun in the game. And I think all of us on this, the coaches on the call, you're in the game because you love it and you want to share that with the kids. But really, how much do we need to teach to how much do we need to have fun, because you want the kids to enjoy their time and want to come back to practice the next day and the years to come. So trying to find that balance is hard, but I think it's important to find the fun and enjoy what we're doing with these kids and making sure they're having a good time.
So I know this is, we're lucky enough to have you back. This is your second visit to us. And last time you were with us, you really sort of accentuated the role that multiple sports played in your development. And as you've come through your career, have you drawn on more than just your soccer training? And what are the elements of your upbringing that really that might surprise people?
I think it's important to have multiple sports. And I think when I think back to when you're saying that, where I've seen my other sports kind of come into play. I mean, we were training for the World Cup in '99. It was before the first game in New Jersey, and I think the reserves were playing small sided, and the starters got to jog, and then we found a basketball court inside the school we were at. And this is probably like a couple days before we're playing our first game. And we have a small pickup game with all our starters. So Mia, Julie, Michelle, we're all playing basketball. And as we're playing, we're like, you know what, we probably shouldn't tell 20 what we're doing right now. But and it was funny, we all played basketball, or everyone talked like, oh, I played volleyball, I played softball, I played, other sports. So to think that we all just played soccer wasn't the case on the national team. I think the one consistency on the national team is we probably all had older brothers. or a brother that tried to kick our butts. So that was one consistent. But I think it does help. It helps in, keeping hand-eye coordination. I mean, I coach and I'm like, okay, when we're going to I head ball coming in, does anyone know how to catch a fly ball? And no one raises their hand. I'm like, oh, no one's played, baseball or softball. Or I'm trying to teach kids to shuffle. All right, you guys get in your basketball position. They're like, I don't play basketball. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I think each sport kind of overlaps and helps the individual, plus with muscle strength and different things. And when I trained in high school and when I was on the national team, I did a lot of cross training, whether I'd run stadium stairs at our high school, or I'd get my rollerblades on and just rollerblade. I just did, or biked a lot too, just different things to keep me happy and sane a bit, trying different things. And then just kept me fit and stronger in all those different avenues.
So who was the best basketball player on the women's team?
Oh, shoot. I'm trying to think. Michelle probably was because she was so tall. No, but I think the other funny thing, too, when we were in college at North Carolina, we played intramural basketball. And our team, all we did was just run. I mean, we couldn't hit an outside shot, but if we ran layups, we'd just lay it.
Oh, that's great. I'd love to see some video of that.
Someone probably has it somewhere.
And did you? I think I'm recalling that you played for your high school team as well. And what would you say to your audience about the value of playing for high school?
Oh, I think it's great. I mean, I know back then club soccer wasn't what it is now. So the opportunity to play club wasn't really there. We had, I think our association had a travel team. So that's where you tried out and you made a little more of an elite team up to high school. And then in high school, I think during my junior, senior years, I kind of played with another, club. It was called the Premier Team, I think, that I played with. But I think high school is so awesome because it's not only just about the game, it's about your community, it's about representing your school, your peers, and supporting each other. So, I mean, I remember going to football games on Friday night, and then at Friday during school, we'd wear our soccer jerseys if we had a home game, and everyone would come out and support us on Saturday for our game. So there's so many more elements than just the game that I think I remember as a high school student, and the fun I had on bus trips coming back from away games, and then, the pasta parties that parents put on for you. So there are so many things that I encourage if kids have the opportunity to play high school to do that, because there's just a bigger community that you're representing and your peers that you're a part of. That was an awesome experience for me.
That's great. Thanks for that. So, I really appreciate your time with this facilitated conversation, but I know that there's a lot of players out there who are dying to speak to you and ask you questions. So we're going to turn to the audience now.
Great.
And just a reminder to everybody out there to submit your questions in the format I suggested to John Del Pascoli. And at this point, John is going to kind of take the baton here, and he's going to facilitate the Q&A.
Awesome. Thanks.
Sure. Great. Thanks, guys. So we have a few questions coming in. The first is from Cameron Cooke, who is on the Capital Soccer Club U16 boys team. So Cam, you want to unmute yourself and ask Kristine a question?
Yeah. So my question was, what did it feel like when you won the World Cup and the Olympics, and which one felt better?
Oh, that's good. I get this one a lot, Cam. Thanks for the question. Well, I mean, to put into feeling, the only thing I used to describe when we first won the first Olympics is when you guys get a snow day, and I know you guys get some up there, although you guys are tough, tougher than probably the rest of the states in the Northeast. But when you got a snow day, what an amazing feeling that was when you didn't have to get up to go to school. And if you multiply that by like 100, that's how it felt to win Olympics and the World Cup. And I think both of them were pretty amazing. And for me, the Olympics kind of, in the first, the 96 Olympics kind of was like a bigger deal to me, just because I talked about it earlier, that's something I always dreamed about being in, and then finally winning gold medal and hearing the national anthem. So that was really special. But then obviously the 99 World Cup and the 91 World Cup, being the best at something, it didn't matter whether it was Olympics or World Cup, it was awesome. It was something that felt so great, because as a team we worked so hard at, and there was nobody really supporting us in the first, especially in the first World Cup in 91, that it was just pretty much us and, you know, a bunch of 1,000 fans that kind of remembered women's soccer back then. So it's just so great to know that we were the best in the world, whether it was the World Cup or the Olympics.
Awesome. The next question is from Camille. Camille, you want to unmute yourself and say which team you're from and ask your question?
I am from the U12 girls team.
Okay.
And my question is, when you were in the Olympics, did the ball feel different than the balls you usually use?
That's a good question, you know, and I'm not sure if you realize why that might be a good question. But the Olympics, you know, I'm trying to think, we might have used the same soccer balls we trained with. And we were a Nike team in the Olympics. So I'm trying to think back if they used the Nike balls or not. But I know for the World Cup, it's always an Adidas sponsor event. So all the balls are usually Adidas. So when we're a Nike team, so we'd have Nike soccer balls. But when we would train at a big event like the World Cup, and I'm not sure what the Olympic ball was, we would get like 10, they would give us 10 of the balls so we could train with them, because they are different when you have different companies involved. So I do remember a difference, definitely in the World Cup. The Olympics, I can't remember if they had different soccer balls than what we normally trained with.
Awesome. That's interesting.
Yeah, that's it.
all the technology with the new balls.
Yeah.
I know the goalkeepers always complain the start of the new World Cup about the swerving balls.
Yeah, yeah.
The next question is from Jack Levine, who is also a member of Capital Soccer Club. Jack, you ready?
Yep. So I'm from the U14 boys. I live in Stowe. So I was wondering, so kind of who did you look up to and who do you look up to now?
Right. Thanks, Jack. That's a great question. When I was younger, my older brother was kind of my role model. He's 4 years older than I was, and whatever he did, I wanted to do. And the greatest lesson that he taught me was basically that he'd let me play. So if you're an older sibling, or if you're a younger sibling, older ones are like, oh, there's my younger brother or sister. Sometimes you don't want them around. And then the younger ones are just, please let me play with you, please. And my brother, he let me, you know, join in on football games in the yard, baseball, whatever it was. But the one thing he told me that I couldn't do was cry. So, and I think this would hold for any younger sister or brother, because obviously when you're younger, the tears kind of come to you a little bit faster. But there's so many times, whether I fell or I lost the ball, that I wanted to cry. I'm like, I can't cry. I just got to keep playing. So my brother was my immediate role model. And then growing up, the only soccer player I really knew of was Pele. And Pele was the one I wanted to be like, because that's what we saw and heard about.
Yeah, I saw the Pele movie. That was a good movie.
Yeah, glad you know who he is. Very important.
Awesome. Thanks, Jack. The next one is actually one from a coach on our staff, Joe Licky. Joe, you have a question for Kristine?
Hey, Kristine. Thank you for coming and joining us. And I coach the U14 that Jack plays for. So that was a great question from Jack. That was awesome. I had just a question. You know, you obviously had a really long playing career, and you always played at a really high level and had great coaching. But I wondered if you could give a little perspective for players, because a lot of our kids have multiple coaches. As one of the best players from your team.
Right. Well, I think, obviously we all have a position that we may love or feel more comfortable playing. And then different coaches may see, enhancing your ability somewhere else. And I think whenever a coach asked me to play somewhere, I was like, okay, first off, because I have respect for the coaches. Second, because I wanted to be on the field. And if it was, okay, you're going to play left back, I was going to play left back. And then you just did it the best way you can do, and giving the time that you've been trained at it. If you've been training in one position for so long and then you try a new one, then take it easier. One of the things I always fall back on when things aren't going as smoothly on the field for me is to make a 5-yard pass and have a successful 5-yard pass like 5 or 6 times. And I'll be like, oh, sweet, I can do this. That was done, and just gives you some confidence. So I think, sometimes the player's never really happy in a position, but I think if you can embrace it and kind of put the front on, like, yeah, I don't like this, but you know what? I know it's something I need to do to help my team be successful. Then you do that, because that's what players did on the 99 team. And we had 20 players on the 99 World Cup team, and 11 played and only 3 subs went in. So there were probably 3 players that never stepped on the field. And do you think they were happy sitting on the bench? No. But did you ever see them pout about it? No. They were the first ones to encourage the starting group to do well, cheering us on, getting us water on the sideline when we come over, and just doing whatever role they need to do to help us be successful. So I think, you just got to embrace it and do the best that you can. And then, just know that you're helping your team be successful no matter what position you have.
Awesome. This next question comes from probably a familiar face and voice for you, Kristine. Wyatt Lilly from the U14 boys team.
Wyatt.
Are you doing the camp this year?
Wyatt, that's a great question. Oh, I hope so. Obviously, you guys are all probably waiting to see when fields open up and when we're able to get out there and kind of the new guidelines that may come along with it. But I'm hoping fresh air is one of the things that people feel is a good thing for everybody, and that I'll be able to run it. But hopefully by June, I'll know a little bit more. But I would selfishly love to have it just so I could see you guys.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Wyatt. I think our next question comes from another one of our coaching staff members and co-founder of the club, George Cooke.
Hi, Kristine. Good to see you again. And I just want to echo what Peter said. Thanks a ton for being with our players. I really appreciate it.
No problem.
I just want to kind of, catch up on what you had just mentioned and use the last World Cup as an example when we see players for the first time. Like, quite honestly, the World Cup in France was the first time that I really had an opportunity to see Rose Lavelle play. I was like, oh my God, she's just an unbelievable player.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if you can just talk a little bit about how somebody like Carly Lloyd, just a few years earlier was the World Player of the Year and was in a very new position with the team as a reserve. And they would interview her after the matches, and she always came across just completely professional, even though she had to be really upset to not be in those matches. But I feel like that she understood the role of, almost like a mentor to these younger players. So when situations like this come up, you mentioned, only 3 other players, the first 11 and 3 others can get in. What kind of keeps a player really motivated to keep going and get themselves into these matches?
Well, I think, first off, that being a part of the team. And I think this goes on with coaching and what kind of foundation and chemistry and culture they've created in the team. And I think the national team has always had this great culture, mentality to compete, and then embracing teammates and knowing that each of our role matters. And I think the success of 99 was because of that, and what Tony DiCicco did for us. And I think the success for the 2019 team was along some of those lines. Yeah, Carly probably wasn't happy at all to be sitting on the bench. There's no doubt. But when she got her opportunities to go in the game, she was excited to step on that field and show what she can do. And I think it goes back to why these players keep wanting to play. It goes back to loving what they're doing, having the passion for the game, playing at the highest level, making a World Cup team. Obviously, your goal is always to make the team, and then when you're there, trying to find time to get minutes on the field any way you can. And by them having that motivation of pushing on the field to try to be a starter is pushing the team to be better. So in the end, it's helping everybody. So it's not easy to swallow. It's not easy to be sitting on the bench and not being able to step on that field, but you're part of something bigger than just you, and that's the success of the team. And I think if we all remember that the bigger picture is helping each other to be better and helping our team win, and then those are good lessons for these kids to know.
Awesome. Thanks, George. Okay, next one is from Elizabeth Peebles from the Middlebury College women's team. Elizabeth?
Hi, Kristine. Thanks for being here with us.
Hey, Elizabeth.
I'm just wondering if you've dealt with injuries along your career and how do you respond to them?
Well, I was pretty lucky majority of my career not to have anything that kind of kept me out. Not to say that I never felt pain, because I think the last 10 years of my career I was constant pain somewhere. But I think I haven't gone through any, knee surgery or anything, but I had a lower back pain for the last part of my career that I had to deal with, and that was doing maintenance work and strengthening my back. So I think a lot of times with injury, you tend to learn what you need to build up to be stronger, whether it's a knee injury where you have to build up your quad and your hamstring. So you kind of learn the muscles that you need to help. So fortunately, I haven't had to go through that, but I do know that playing with pain and some things that hurt is not easy, but sometimes we have to push through a little bit, but also getting the right help. These days, you guys, there's so many different avenues, from trainers to PTs to, specific, just agility training to weight training. So I would just suggest finding those outlets that are qualified and professional that can help you in any sort of injury situation. But I was lucky in my career to be able to be somewhat injury-free.
Awesome. Thank you. We have another question from a Middlebury College player, Eliza Van Voorhis.
Hi, Kristine. My question is, who is the best coach you've ever had and why?
The best coach. That's a really good question. I think I've had some good ones, and I think I've gotten something from every coach I've had, maybe even some that I don't necessarily agree with all the time, but I think I've learned something from every coach, and I think that's having an open mind and perspective about it. But I think I have to go back to Anson Dorrance, my college coach, and on the first coach I played for on the national team, and he actually picked me to join the national team. And I think why I liked him so much is he had incredible ability to motivate our team and to make each of us feel like we were the best and to make the team feel like we were the best. And he didn't do it in like yelling at this and that. It was more of a subtle way of, okay, do you guys think you could play better? We're like, yeah. And he's like, so play better, and kind of put it in our hands. But he also had the ability to have us compete on the field. And then when we stepped off the field, we were just having a good time being friends. And if you guys can come together as a team and compete and go in hard and know that you're doing it because you care for each other and want the team to be successful, then that's pretty strong coaching ability. Because if you can compete and care about each other in the same sense, definitely helps teams be more successful.
Awesome. Another question from a familiar face. Kelly Lilly has a question.
Hey.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
So I just kind of wanted to, now that you're a mom as well as soccer player and coach and everything, do you bring the girls with you when you travel, and how is that for them?
Yeah, well, I was lucky. I had my oldest, and I came back to play for 2 years. So I got to bring her on the road with me, which I'm not sure if that's a great thing, because if I was practicing, I practiced, then I came home and take care of her in the hotel. But it was awesome for me because I had them a part of what I was doing. And now when I travel to camps and do camps anywhere, they actually do come, because a lot of times they participate in the camp. And they love it. They always, it's like a girls. We have a camp called TeamFirst Soccer Academy, which I do with Mia Hamm and Tisha Venturini. and we travel around and everyone brings their kids, and it's like a big slumber party. You know, we're in the hotels and then we go off to training to coach, and the kids do the camp. So it's a lot of fun. And I think what I love about it too is they're seeing me in a different light of, you know, teaching the kids and loving what I'm doing and being able to be a mom and do a job as well and stand before a bunch of kids, whether it's boys or girls, and show, you know, a strong woman, you know, teaching them that knows the game. So I think there's a lot of lessons they get subliminally through them and hopefully stick in the back of their head. And when they get older, feel that confidence and strength that they can do, you know, whatever they want.
Great. We have one from a parent in our club. He has 2 sons that play for us. This is Chris Curtis. Chris?
Hey, thank you so much, Kristine, for sharing your time with us today. It is a real treat, and it's a favorite family pastime to gather around and watch the U.S. women's national team anytime they're playing. We actually took our kids to Greece last summer, and it was such a treat to be able to keep them staying up late and watching the World Cup over in France on a different time zone altogether, but it was just electric and so fun to watch.
That's really cool.
So my question for you is, what does your experience and sport in general teach us about unity and hope in weathering uncertain or difficult times?
Yeah.
And if you can just reflect on that a little bit, I'd love to draw your inspiration.
Yeah, well, I think sport is a powerful tool for everybody. I mean, whether it's soccer, football, basketball, I think that sport influences so much and has impact on people's lives, whether it distracts them from what's going on or gives them hope by being a part and feeling a part of something. And I think those are elements that I felt as a player. I felt a part of something. And one of the biggest things that making the national team did for me, besides playing for it, it wasn't that. It was that I was surrounded by women that were just like me. So I was talking earlier how I grew up playing with boys, and when I looked around, no one looked like me. They were all boys, and I was the only girl. So then I joined the national team, and then I was looking around like, oh my gosh, look at all these cool girls, women that are really good, that want to compete, that want to get dirty, want to be tough and get out there. And that really helped me find a home. And that was powerful. And that's due to soccer. And I think in times now, I mean, I'm not playing anymore, and we're looking to turn the TV on to watch anything sports-wise, and you don't see it, you kind of realize the distraction that sports gives you. You know, when maybe work was a bad day at work, or school was just so much schoolwork and you're tired, you come home and you can put on a game and kind of live through someone else and kind of just watch. But also fans feel a part of that team, that connection. So I think sport does so many things, and it's so important for kids to have in their life. And I don't care really what sport you play. I mean, obviously I love soccer, but to be a part of something, to feel a part of something, to make the friends, to put in the hard work, and to get that connection with people is something we can't really get right now. So I think that's why we got to hang in there. You guys have these Zoom calls that you're trying to keep everyone connected, which is what everyone's doing. So it's great. But I think when you get back on the field, I think these kids are going to feel alive again and feel like, oh my gosh, I just couldn't wait just to be on the field and do what they love. So I think sports is very big to have in people's lives at every level, I think.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks everybody for the questions. That was so great, and thank you, Kristine. Pete, you want to take away for the rest of this?
Yeah, Kristine, thank you so much. It was incredible just listening to you reflect upon your experiences and all you've learned about yourself and about the game and the world. And we owe you a real debt for spending the time with us. And I say that for a couple of reasons. Number one, we just appreciate the inspiration that you give to us. And I guess I should make a small but really important note, and that is that I think a lot of times these conversations, I'm sure you've experienced this over your career, a lot of these conversations gravitate towards inspiring women and inspiring girls to reach the next level, which is undoubtedly true, and your legacy carries on through today. But I think, you know, it deserves noting that you have inspired a generation of people, period, with all that you've achieved. You're one of the most successful athletes in this era. And so on top of all that, you're an amazing person and so generous of your time. So thanks for all your insights, your warmth, and your knowledge. And I wish you the very best of luck getting through this crazy time and getting back out on the field where you belong.
Yeah. Well, thanks. I mean, thanks for the nice comments, Peter. And I think, you know, I do my camps and it's both boys and girls. And I think the impact that I have on young girls is incredible. But also just for the young boys, like you said, is great. It's great for them to see a female standing in front of them, coaching and sharing the game too. So I appreciate that. And one thing I just want to touch on to athletes, we didn't really talk about this, but I was once in your shoes. I was once a kid playing, and I just love to play. So when you guys get out there, love to play. Don't worry about mistakes. Don't worry about what the coach thinks. You can't change what the coach is going to think. All you can do is focus on what you do. And I think if you remember that, I think it'll be a lot more fun when you step out on that soccer field again. All right. So hang in there, everybody. It's going to get better. The sun's warming everybody up on the Northeast. So hopefully we'll get out on the field soon enough. But thank you guys for letting me be part of the Zoom tonight.
So as we wrap up here, guys, you'll just take a look in the chat, and John has entered the Kristine's website, so you can read all about her book, and also the address where you can request your copy and find out how to pay for your copy as well. So a giant thank you from all of us up here in the Great White North. And we hope to see you again sometime soon.
Yeah, that would be great. Thanks again, you guys. I appreciate it.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kristine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kristine.
Oh.
Thank you.
Oh, I should probably take off these glasses.
Christine, great job.
Thanks, you guys. Take care.
Good to see you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye, Kristine. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.